In this video, we're going to create and name a new spreadsheet, add additional sheets to your spreadsheet, hide, show, reorder sheets within your spreadsheet, copy your spreadsheet, and move your spreadsheet around in Google Drive. Let's start by creating a new spreadsheet. If you're starting a new spreadsheet from scratch, typing sheets.new in your browser is the fastest way to open a new sheet. If you need help getting started, Sheets has tons of templates. If you're an educator, there's a gradebook template and an assignment tracker. If you're an entrepreneur, there are templates for invoices and expense reports. If you project manage, like I do, you might find the template for the project timeline super helpful. There are lots of different scenarios. For our purposes, we're going to start a new spreadsheet from scratch. Open a new window, type drive.google.com. We'll select New and go to Google Sheets. And here you can choose between a blank spreadsheet or you can choose from a template. If you want to check out the entire template gallery, you can visit sheets.google.com to see it all. Okay, so now we have a spreadsheet created. Now let's give it a title. You'll see that our new spreadsheet is by default labeled Untitled Spreadsheet. Let's enter a title here. Let's type in Movie Data Project. All right, now let's add sheets to your spreadsheet. All right, so let's click here to add a new sheet to the spreadsheet. Let's double click on the Sheet tab to rename that sheet. And then click here so we can view all the sheets in our spreadsheet. Now let's talk about how to hide or show sheets. Sometimes you may want to hide a sheet that you're not using at the moment. For example, maybe we don't want to see the actor sheet because we're only analyzing the director data. In that case, we can hide the actor sheet like this. Let's select the sheet you want to hide, and on the Sheet tab, click the down arrow here. You'll select Hide Sheet. As a note, this option won't show if your spreadsheet doesn't contain 2 or more sheets. So to show a sheet, return to your menu and select the hidden sheet to make visible again. You can also click View and Hidden Sheets to unhide it. Remember, you can see which sheets are visible and which are hidden by the color scheme. Visible sheets will be in bold and hidden sheets will be in gray. If you select a hidden sheet, it will show again. Sometimes you may want to reorder a sheet. For example, maybe your team is trying to make a list of all of the actors who appeared on screen in 2016. In that case, we'd move the actor sheet to the left like this. It then moves ahead of the director sheet. You can click and drag around your sheets and reorder them however you'd like. You can see which sheet you've selected down here. It'll have a white overlay. Sometimes I copy a sheet if I like the way I've formatted it and plan to change only a few rows, columns, or headers. This approach saves me the time of starting a new sheet from scratch and then reformatting everything again. So to do that, let's select the Sheet tab. We'll click here to show our choices for this sheet. Let's select Copy To, then select New Spreadsheet or Existing Spreadsheet. So the same idea applies if you want to copy an entire spreadsheet. Maybe I like the way this 2016 movie data spreadsheet looks, but I have new data for the current year. I can copy the 2016 spreadsheet and input new data without reinventing the wheel each time. Let's go to File, select Make a Copy, and here we have an option to rename the document. Just hit OK to copy the spreadsheet, and your copied spreadsheet will open right here in a new tab. Now let's cover how to move your spreadsheet around in your Google Drive. When you work in a team, you have a shared Google Drive, but maybe you don't want to share your spreadsheet until it's just right. In that case, you can work on spreadsheets in your own personal drive and then move it to another shared folder when you're done. Or maybe you want to put your spreadsheet in a new project folder. Or maybe you put your sheet in the wrong folder and you need to move it to the right folder. Regardless, you'll move a spreadsheet like this. Go to File, select Move, then you're going to choose the final destination in your drive, wherever you want to put the sheet. Hit Move Here, and there you go. In the next video, we're going to go over how to input data into cells, how to format the data, and how to move that data around inside the spreadsheet. In this video, we're going to go over how to enter, edit, format, and clear data in a cell. We'll also go over inserting new cells, rows, and columns, and how to drag them around your spreadsheet. So, now that we have our spreadsheet all set up, let's start editing it. We're going to go over how to input data into cells, how to format the data, and how to move that data around inside the spreadsheet. See that little blue border outline? That's a pretty handy reminder that'll indicate which cell you're working on. So go ahead and clear that content, and let's just add it back in because we're going to use it later. Just wanted to show you how to do that real quick. Let's click on a cell, or you can also select a range of cells. So go ahead and clear that content, and now enter your new content. You can format your data in several different ways in Google Sheets so that everything is displayed just how you want it. Google Sheets automatically formats your data, but we can also apply custom formatting of numbers, dates, and currencies. One thing to keep in mind when you're importing data from an external source is that it might not be formatted exactly the way you like. A tip is to make your imported data plain text. This will make it easy to format everything consistently later. So let's make it plain text. Select the column or the row that you want to modify, open Format, go to Number, and then choose plain text here. Okay, so we know our data is all in plain text. Cool. As you can see from our movie data set, we have a few different formats in the spreadsheet. Here we have dates, and here we have currency. Let's modify the date format to show the year first. Later, we'll sort this sheet by year, so let's change the formatting now. Here, our budget column is talking about dollars, so we want to change the format to represent currency. Let's do that. Okay, now it's currency. The movie data set that we're working with uses round numbers for the budgets, so there's no reason for us to show the cents in our spreadsheet because it just takes up space. Sheets has the option to decrease the precision and decimal places. So let's do that. Remove decimal places in the budget column. So select the budget column, or you can select the 1, 2, 3 icon in the toolbar here. Set it to currency. To decrease the precision and decimal places, that's optional. Or you can also select the shortcut on the toolbar, the 0.0 or the 0.00 to decrease or increase the precision. Okay, now let's clear formatting in a cell. Let's say this data point was bolded and italicized and we wanted to clear that styling. The easiest way to do so would be to highlight the cell or range of cells, select Format, and then select Clear Formatting. This will send the data back to default. You may need to add a cell, row, or column to your spreadsheet. This is especially true if you were given a data set, but you want to add more detail to it, or if you want to do some additional analysis. We'll use our movie spreadsheet to show this. Maybe our producer has asked us to create a checklist of the genres to research more thoroughly, so we want to create a new column on our genre sheet. Let's select the new column location, open column, select insert one left, or insert one right to add a column. That's one way to insert a column. Here's another way. We'll select insert, and then we'll select column left or column right. Inserting multiple columns or rows is simple. Just highlight the number of columns you'd want to insert. As an example, let's insert 5. So select 5 columns, right-click, and you'll see this option to insert 5 left or insert 5 right. Cool. Now let's go through the same process to add a new row. Select where you want to add a new row and open the Insert menu. I'm going to click here. You'll notice that the insert options have changed. So instead of columns, we can insert a new row above or below the selection. You can also access the same menu options by using the right-click menu option. Here, you can also choose to delete row, delete column, or delete cells. Let's say we want the box office revenue column to be right next to the release date column. We can move it like this. Select the column, click, hold, and drag to where you want it. You can select the row, you click, hold, and drag to where you want it. Okay, so we just went over how to enter, edit, format, and clear data in a cell. You also learned how to insert new cells, new rows, new columns, and how to drag them all around in your spreadsheet. In the next video, you'll learn how to duplicate, print, and publish your spreadsheet. In this video, we'll cover how to duplicate, print, and publish your spreadsheet. Let's say I want to duplicate the sheet Complete Blockbusters. I'm going to populate it with data from an upcoming year, but I like this format and I want to keep most of the columns the same. I don't have to create another spreadsheet from scratch. Instead, let's duplicate the spreadsheet. Click File and then select Make a Copy. You can rename this new spreadsheet and select the destination folder for where the file will be saved. You can also copy over share permissions and any existing comments onto the copy of your spreadsheet, which is nice. Click on OK, and this will create an exact copy of your spreadsheet. One of the coolest things about Sheets is that you can work seamlessly across devices, from your desktop computer to your tablet and to your smartphone. It's great to be able to double check a number when I'm on the go because I can access Sheets straight from my mobile device. Occasionally, though, I may need to print out a spreadsheet. If you're an indie filmmaker who's preparing a proposed budget for a grant proposal, for example, the funder may want a hard copy of your docs. So let's talk about how to print your spreadsheet. Then you'll learn how to share your living document online. So there are 2 ways to print a spreadsheet. You'll either use the print icon in the toolbox on top, or you can go to File and select Print. Either way, a settings menu will open where you can customize your print settings. You can customize what you want your spreadsheet to look like on paper. See? You can change the orientation. You can also set custom page breaks and change what the contents of each printed sheet will look like. Let's talk about how to publish your spreadsheet to the web. Maybe you're a researcher who wants to make data from a project public. Or maybe you're a journalist who wants to show the source of all the numbers that were cited in an investigative story. Whatever your purpose may be, Sheets allows you to publish your spreadsheet to the web. Anyone with its link would be able to access it. Or you could embed the entire spreadsheet on a website that you own. Publishing your spreadsheet is a way to make it visible to anyone with a URL link without editing capabilities. So let's do this. Let's go to File and select Publish to the Web. You can also choose to publish the entire document file or publish standalone sheets within the spreadsheet. This can be published as a web page or in its file format like CSV, TSV, or a PDF that can be downloaded. In these options, you can choose to either make the spreadsheet a standalone link on the web or embed the spreadsheet somewhere. Hit Publish when you're ready to make your spreadsheet live. You'll be provided a link that anyone can access to see the results of that published document. Okay, you should now know how to duplicate, print, and publish your spreadsheet. In this video, we're going to discuss some basic keyboard shortcuts. You'll learn how to navigate with the keyboard arrows, use the Find Replace feature to locate important data instantly, and use the Undo feature. Now that we've learned how to navigate our spreadsheet, let's learn some shortcuts that'll help you work faster. I'm using a Pixel book, so most of my shortcuts will begin by typing Control. For all Mac users, keep in mind that your shortcuts will begin with Command. For a complete list of shortcuts in both environments, check out the Google Help Center for keyboard shortcuts for Google Sheets. That link will be in the resources for you as well. We've also compiled a spreadsheet for you that contains a bunch of useful keyboard shortcuts. That'll be helpful no matter what operating system you're using. You can find that keyboard shortcut spreadsheet in the resources section of this course. It might be useful to bookmark it or keep it handy as you continue throughout the course, and we encourage you to use it after you successfully complete this course. Now, let's start with the most popular shortcut I use, Control-A, or Select All. You may want to use this feature if you want to change the font of the entire sheet at once. The first time you use Control-A, you will select content within the bounds of the table. If you hit Control-A a second time, this will select the entire range of the sheet. Combining Control and arrow keys will allow you to quickly jump locations in your sheet. So if we start on column A and hit Control plus the right arrow, your cursor will jump to the farthest adjacent cell location with a value. See, we just jumped from column A to column N. Now, say, for example, you want to skip down to the bottom of the list of movie titles to view the data on Zoolander, who is at the very end here. So instead of scrolling all the way down each time, you can jump to the bottom of our table. If you hit Control and down arrow, we will jump down from row 1 to row 509. This is incredibly useful when you have thousands or even hundreds of thousands of rows of data in a single spreadsheet. Let's practice navigating with the keyboard arrows. You can use your keyboard arrows to move around different cell locations. If you hit the right arrow, you'll move down from column A to column B. Likewise, if you hit the down arrow, you'll move from row 1 to row 2. Okay, find and replace. Sometimes we can make mistakes entering data in a cell. I noticed we misspelled action in our genres columns. Whoops. For data analysis, since consistency is key, we need to go into the spreadsheet and change the incorrect spelling every single time it appears. Rather than panic, I can use the Find and Replace feature to make a bulk edit. This will save a lot of time. I don't have to hunt for each instance of the misspelled word. So Control F to open the search bar. We'll select more options. Now we'll enter the original value in Find. So we misspelled action as action, so the misspelling would actually be the original value in our case. So let's enter that here. You'll see the option to enter a new value in Replace With. So this is where we correct the spelling. Let's enter action, spelled correctly, as the new value. All right, let's select Replace All. We'll hit OK, and all occasions of the misspelled genre are now corrected together as a batch, like magic. Continuing on the theme of correcting mistakes, let's look at the Undo feature. Let's say you just did an action and wish to return. For example, we bolded this cell and wish to unbold it quickly. You can open the Edit menu and select Undo. This will undo your previous action. If you didn't mean to undo an action, you can click Redo to restore it. All right, congratulations, you made it through Module 1. You should now feel comfortable creating spreadsheets, editing them, and printing and publishing them. Your test is coming up next. Now, a quick test of your skills. Let's pretend you're a production coordinator in an upcoming blockbuster film. The producer has requested a clean spreadsheet that reports only movie titles, film release dates, budgets, and box office revenues. To make her a fresh sheet, you'll have to do 3 things. First, you'll need to duplicate the movie data sheet. Second, you'll need to delete everything except the 4 key columns. Remember, those are movie titles, film release dates, budgets, and box office revenues. Lastly, you'll need to name your spreadsheet. That's the test. After you've completed this in your own spreadsheet, check out the resources section for the answer key, but don't peek too early. You'll want to make sure you do it on your own first to truly test if you've mastered Module 1. After you complete the test, we'll see you in Module 2, where we'll work with formulas and functions and you'll learn how to import and analyze your data. Hi, and welcome to Module 2. Now that you've got some of the basics down, you'll start working with formulas and functions, and you'll learn how to import and analyze your data. So Google Sheets is a collaborative tool that powers really productive teams. Teams use Sheets to import, organize, and analyze information together in real time. And what's really nice is that Sheets empowers everyone, not just those with an analytics background, to find new insights from their data. You have quick access to robust editing tools in Sheets that help you conduct deep analysis and organize information in a way that's useful to you. So in this module, you'll learn how to populate your spreadsheet with data using different import methods. We'll look at how to sort your data, use filters and filter views, use some basic formulas and functions, like how to calculate sums, averages, and more. So come on, let's dig deeper into our movie data set. Okay, so before we can analyze data, we'll have to actually import some data to our sheet. Data comes in a variety of different file formats, and there are various ways to import data to your spreadsheet. So let me show you a few ways how this can work. The first way to import data is to bring it in from a file on your desktop. For the purpose of this example, I'm going to import data that I've already saved to my Pixel book. Go ahead and download the movie data project file from the resources section. Okay, once you have the data set ready on your desktop, go to File and Import. Click on Select a file from your device. And here we get options on how to import the file and its location. You can see that we could create a new spreadsheet, insert new sheets, or replace spreadsheet. In our case, we want to choose Insert New Sheets to add the data set to our spreadsheet here. And go ahead and hit Import Data when you're ready to bring in the data. Okay, so that's an import. Now let's talk copy and paste. If you need to copy data from another source, Sheets makes it super easy to import data from other locations here into your spreadsheet. You can use the copy feature to aggregate data from different spreadsheets or source files and paste. Let's say we want to grab some data from someone else's spreadsheet. Our teammate Mabel shared a file with us, so let's go find that in our drive. Open Google Drive. We can look for the document here using specific keywords unless we know where it's organized in the drive. I know Mabel's sheet is in the Shared With Me section. Here we go, so I'll open the spreadsheet, copy the sheet data to your clipboard. Let's go back to our spreadsheet, open File, select Paste. Thirdly, we can also grab data from an email. All right, we're going to open our Gmail now and browse for Mabel's email that I just mentioned. She attached a sheet for us to import into our spreadsheet. So here we can download, save to drive, or edit with Google Sheets. Let's go ahead and open the file in Sheets. We'll select our data and copy it to our clipboard. Open Edit, Copy, and let's go back to our spreadsheet. Open up Edit and Paste. Cool. So there's a couple of ways that you can import data to your sheet. So you have data imported in your sheet and you're ready to analyze it. Now we're going to walk through some of the most popular data analysis features and functions of Sheets. We're going to use our trusty movie data set to show some of these off. One of my favorite things to do in Sheets is sort data. It really helps me see quite quickly what some top-line trends might be. For example, we can sort data to list things from the smallest data point to the largest, or vice versa. Let's sort our movies by release date. If we want to see the earliest movie first, sort A to Z. If we want to see the most recent movie releases, sort Z to A. Click on Data. See here, you could also select and sort a specific range if you wanted to get more granular. All right, select the column that you want to sort. So in our case, let's select the release date column. Choosing to sort A to Z sorts the earliest releases on top, and choosing to sort Z to A sorts the most recent releases on top. See? Perfect. We want to sort by most recent release for now, so we'll leave it like that. Okay, using filters and filter views in your spreadsheet. These are different filtering mechanisms provided in Sheets. They're really powerful under different circumstances. Let's go over basic filters. These are really useful when you're working collaboratively with a peer in a spreadsheet at the same time. When you apply a basic filter, that applies to every viewer of the spreadsheet. When you filter and when you sort, that view persists. That means that that will be the view for any future visitors to your spreadsheet. Let's imagine, however, that you're working in parallel with someone. Maybe you and your colleagues have different insights you're trying to uncover at the same time, and you don't want to disrupt each other. So filter views only affect you as the viewer. This is such a powerful tool to have when you don't have editing permissions on someone else's sheet, but you want to be able to sort the data. You can also save these filter views, name them, and share them with your colleagues. So that's what filters and filter views are, but let's dive a bit deeper and talk about how to filter things with and without conditional formatting. So filters are useful if you want everyone viewing your spreadsheet to see a specific filter when they open it. We can also create filters that exclude some data on our sheet while highlighting other information. Filters are seen by everyone viewing your spreadsheet. So let's make a filter that shows us only movies from 2016. Duplicate the movie data sheet. Let's rename this to genre action 2016. Let's qualify our first condition here. We only want to see movies from the year 2016. Click up here on data. We'll select create a filter. Select this column's arrow here, and we'll select filter by values. Select clear. We just want to see movies released in 2016, and hit OK. Now let's qualify our second condition, the action genre from the year 2016. Okay, so select the genre column arrow, select the genre we want. Hit OK. Filter views can be useful if you want to save multiple views or you want others to be able to view the data differently. Since filter views need to be turned on by each person viewing a spreadsheet, each person can view a different filter view at the same time. You can create a filter view, save it, and share it with your team. This is super helpful when someone else in your team wants to narrow down and observe the data set the same way you did. To create a filter view, navigate up here, open Data, Filter Views, and create new filter view. Click here on the filter menu on the release date column. We'll select filter by values. Let's clear the suggested values and enter 2016, then select all. Hit OK. And now your team can access the filter view in their data menus. Now let's name this new filter view. This becomes a private filter. We can access it in the future or share with others. Sometimes when you add data to a sheet, it may not be in the format that you need. Now, you can easily keep your sheet standardized by using the Trim White Space feature to remove any leading, trailing, or excessive white space from a cell or a range of data. So let's get rid of the additional white space on some columns. All right, select the columns, open data, trim white space, hit OK. There we go. You can use the Remove Duplicates tool to easily remove duplicate values from your sheet, saving you time by eliminating the need to write an app script or manually remove duplicate data. You can customize the selection and pick certain columns or select the entire table. To remove duplicates, go to your data menu and select Remove Duplicates. Hit Confirm. And there we are. No more duplicates. One way to save time in Sheets is to create a data validation rule. For example, this is useful if you know you want your cell to contain only a few options. Let's say you were creating a survey and you only wanted the cell to contain a yes or a no answer. We could create a drop-down menu that offered only those choices. Then you wouldn't have to type out yes or no each time. You'd simply click an option. Data validation is a way you can restrict the values existing in a cell. Let's create a column called Have I Seen This? Open your data menu and select Data Validation. Let's specify which column you'll want to add a data validation so that the only options we see are either yes or no. So over here in Criteria, select List of Items and type in yes, no. Hit Save. Cool. Now we have these drop downs in our cells with two possible values, yes and no. Cool. You can also copy and paste cells, columns, and rows to which you've added data validation and paste it in other parts of your sheet to carry over the same format. You can clear data validation in specific cells or ranges in your sheet where it doesn't make sense to have a data validation. For example, we don't want a data validation on our header. Right-click the cell and open Data Validation. Here you'll see an option to remove. All right, formulas and functions are up next. One of my favorite things about Google Sheets is how easy we can perform basic calculations using functions and formulas. A function is a built-in operation here in Sheets, such as adding or subtracting, which can be used to calculate data. A formula combines one or more spreadsheet functions to obtain a specific result. I like the quick sum feature because I don't even have to enter a formula. All right, so let's highlight some data on our sheet to analyze. And we're going to pick the budget column. Open the quick sum window and check out some different sum options here. Sheets is going to guess the formula that you're most interested in. If you click on the drop down, it will expand and give more aggregate stats. For example, we can see the sum, average, minimum, maximum, and how many unique budget cells there are in this column. All right, so now we're going to start with some simple formulas using functions like sum, average, and count. The sum function returns the sum of a series of numbers and/or cells. We're going to sum up the box office revenue column of all the movies. To do that, let's type equals sum, open parentheses. Now select all the data in this column and close parentheses. Hit enter, and there we go. The count function is used to return the number of numeric values in a data set. We're going to use this function to find out how many movie data entries are in our sheet. To get a count, type equal count and select the data range you want to count. The count function counts all numeric values in a data set, including duplicates. Now let's use the average function. Let's say we want to know the average budget spent for all of these movies. Type equal average, open parentheses, and now select all the data in this column and close your parentheses. Go ahead and hit enter, There we go. We'll learn how to count just unique values in a little bit. We can use the min and max functions in Sheets to observe our data range. Here, you'll enter equals min, open parentheses, enter the budget column, and close parentheses. And for max, enter equals max, open parentheses, budget column, close parentheses. Go ahead and change the cell's format into currency. Go to Format, Number, and select Currency. As expected, min returns the minimum value in a numeric dataset, and max returns the maximum value in a numeric dataset. Let's look at count again in relation with count A, count unique, and count-if functions. The main difference between count and count A is count gathers the number of numeric values, and count A gathers the number of values. We can also use count A if we want to know how many total movie data entries we have in this sheet. Instead of picking a numeric value column, we can pick the movie titles column this time. So enter equal count A and movie title column. If we had duplicated values in our spreadsheet, they would still count using the count A formula. To make sure we're only counting unique values in our data set, we would use the count unique formula. Count unique counts the number of unique values in a list of specified values and ranges. Let's check it out. So enter the formula count unique and our data range, in this case the entire column. There we go. We'll use the COUNTIF function to quickly count how many items in a range meet a given criterion. So in our genre section here, I can use COUNTIF to pull out how many movie genres there are. Let's create a new column to start our analysis. There we go. Let's enter the COUNTIF formula. And we need to point towards all the genres, so select the genres column. After the cell range, we have to add which cell value it's comparing the data to. There we go. Now let's use the fill down feature to apply the same formula to all the genres. Sheets will pull out the unique count of each genre. If you want to use the SUMIF function in Google Sheets, you need to define which ranges we want to sum and the criteria and/or criterion. The range in the formula is defined as the cell range where you want to sum values in Google Sheets. The criteria range is the range which we want to filter for certain values. And the criterion is the value which we want to take out from the criteria range. Okay, so this process is the same for average if. Instead of summing up every entry of comedy, let's put them all together and find an average for them. Let's create a new column and enter equals average if, enter the column, select the genre, then enter the budget column. Go ahead and format these cells into currency. Go to Format, Number, and select Currency. Okay, if you have a formula integrated in Sheets and you want to apply it throughout your table, there are a couple ways we can duplicate the formula without manually having to recreate it each time. Click on the bottom right handle of the cell here, and that formula logic will now apply in all the cells in the column. Sweet. Alternatively, we can grab that cell handle and drag it down our table. There we go. When we let go, that formula logic will be applied. Absolute references should be used when you want to lock in the range of data your formula points to. This can be helpful if you're going to drag your formula down or across, or copy and paste the formula for use in a different cell location in your spreadsheet. Without absolute references, your cell range arguments are relative and will continue to change as the formula is dragged around a sheet. So let's do an example. Let's go back to our average if. The cell used in a condition might change, but again, the range should not. If we drag the formula to the right column, for example, we notice that the formula is now referencing a different rectangle of data. You can create absolute ranges by locking both rows and columns, so our formula will remain correct as we use the fill down feature. If we want to lock in the genre values, we also want to add a $sign in front of this cell. There we go. Now, if we drag this formula out to the right and we enter that cell, we see that same genre data range. The last thing I want to say about the COUNTIF, SUMIF, and AVERAGEIF functions are that they make quick calculations very simple within a sheet. For example, I can use COUNTIF to very quickly see how many comedy movies there are. SUMIF tells me that the total revenue for comedy movies, and AVERAGEIF lets me know the average revenue for these comedies. Practice with these three functions to amaze your peers in your next meeting. The if function is invaluable if you have large data sets. It helps you create a rule that calls out relevant data based on your parameters. For example, if I want to create a new column that highlights Hollywood blockbusters, I can create a new rule that pulls out films that grossed more than 50 million. Let's say we want to create a new category called blockbuster in this column. So what is our rule? Let's say if this film's revenue is greater than $50 million, then it is a blockbuster, and we will display the value yes. If it is not, the cell value will be no. Nice, that looks good. Select and double-click the bottom of the cell here, and there you go. All right, let's learn how to use the AND, OR, and NOT functions to create logic arguments. If you want to create more than one condition, you can go beyond the if-then function. The AND function ties together multiple rules. In addition to blockbusters, we want to find out how many comedy blockbusters there are. So we need to enter our if-and function, and we want to call out the blockbuster column and the example genre comedy. If the values are true, this new data column will tell us which of the movies are both blockbusters and of the comedy genre. Likewise for the OR and NOT function. Functions like date, year, month, hour, minute, all these functions allow you to break out certain components of your data. We'll add a link to the full list, but here's a quick example. Let's bring our release date column here in an empty sheet. Here we can see the value is composed of a year, month, and day. We're going to use the year function to isolate just the years. Why is this useful? Because instead of going in and changing the data manually, we can break out specific data components. Okay, let's use the paste special feature. You can use paste special to decide which formatting gets copied when copying cells. Paste special works within your spreadsheet and different sheets. You can access all of the different types of paste special available in Edit Paste. See how we can choose to paste values only, we can choose to paste format only, we can paste all except border, we can paste formula only, data validation, conditional formatting, and so on. So we just reviewed some pretty sophisticated features and functions of sheets. Before we go any farther, let's practice what we just covered. So let's imagine that your director, the movie producer, wants to know the top grossing movie of 2015. That's the last time her studio had a major hit, and she's looking to recapture that magic. She's especially eager to know what film genre the top grossing film is in. She thinks that this may be the key to producing the next blockbuster. So you're going to work with your movie data sheet again. Your assignment for this module has 3 steps. First, you'll need to make a filter for the year column so that you only see movies from the year 2015. Second, you'll need to sort the box office revenue column in descending order. That will tell you which film made the most money. Once you have identified your top film, let's give the producer a bonus statistic. For your third step, calculate the average box office revenue for all movies in the winning genre. You want to be able to tell the producer how much money the studio can expect to make if it commits to that kind of film. So that's it. Good luck. You got this. Hi everyone, and welcome back. Time to kick off Module 3, which is all about telling stories with data and how to design your sheet to highlight trends. So by now, you know how to start a spreadsheet. You know how to add rows and columns to your spreadsheet and move them all around. You know how to print and publish your spreadsheets too. You're well on your way to leveling up your Google Sheets game. In this module, you're going to learn how to format cells, rows, and columns in your sheet. You're going to highlight key data points in your sheet and enter objects in your sheet. Maybe you're a bookkeeper and you want to make all of your negative values red and your positive values green. Maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to bold the bottom line on a profit and loss statement. Spreadsheets can get pretty elaborate. You can do things like freeze or resize rows and even add objects like checkboxes and images, which really help draw attention to important points. There's almost a limitless number of ways to design your spreadsheet to effectively communicate your message. And after this module, you'll have a good grasp of the basics. So in this module, you're going to learn how to format cells, rows, and columns in your spreadsheet, highlight key data points in your spreadsheet, and enter objects in your spreadsheet. So let's dive in. Let's talk about how to change fonts and text sizes. After I've analyzed my data, I like to design my spreadsheets to communicate the main ideas and trends in a visually appealing way. So this is a phase where you want to think about how design and text work together to call out certain data points. This is when you get to tell a story with your data. Keep in mind, how can you use formatting and visual cues to effectively communicate your spreadsheet's message to others? First, let's change the font and text sizes on a single cell or a range of cells. Select which cells you want to modify and go to Font. As you can see, you have a wide variety of fonts to choose from. Go ahead and select Roboto. You can also modify the font size here in the toolbar. So let's make our headers a bit larger. Here's another way to change the font size real quick. Click Format, select Font Size, and then choose your font size here. Okay, let's talk merging, aligning, and wrapping cells. Select the range of cells you want to merge, open Format, and select Merge Cells. Here we have the option to merge all or merge horizontally. Your merge options will adapt automatically depending on your selection. If we had selected a vertical range of cells, we would see the option to merge all or merge vertically. Now, let's unmerge things. To unmerge a range of cells, click on Format and select Unmerge. Now, let's take a look at how the content aligns in our sheet. Okay, you'll click up here. Now you can choose to align content to the right, left, or to center it. Next, let's explore different ways to format your content. There are 3 options that we'll cover right now: overflow, wrap, and clip. If you select overflow, the content will overflow to adjacent cells. See that? Okay. If you select wrap, the content will fit within a single cell and you can view all of it. The cell might get bigger. This is useful when you want to make sure all the contents of the cell are in view. If you select clip, the content will still overflow, but no longer spill into adjacent cells. Content beyond the cell size will be hidden, so sometimes this can make a spreadsheet look neater as a whole, but your trade-off is that sometimes some data in the cells is not in view all the time. Time to practice reformatting rows and columns. You can select a row by its number or a column by its letter. Any formatting you do there will apply to the entire row or column. For example, we can apply a fill color to the entire column. We can bold all the column contents. And we can apply a font color to the entire column. Easy. Just these simple techniques can be really powerful when you need to tell a story with your data and make sure others understand what's important. Here we go, conditional formatting time. It's very easy to format individual cells based on their contents. To do this, let's select these cells and choose Format, and then Conditional Formatting, and then we're going to select the type of rule we want to use. We can get pretty specific with our data. See all these options available? We can choose to highlight values greater than, less than, or equal to, and specify text and cell contents as well. We can set a color scale and choose different colors to see min points and max points. We can create as many conditional formatting rules as we'd like. Did you know Sheets can make heat maps? Applying conditional formatting and selecting color scale is a very easy way to make a heat map. Heat maps are scales that highlight quantities from smallest to largest by highlighting shades of colors from lightest to darkest, or vice versa. It's all up to you. Let's do that right now. Let's say we want to make a heat map to indicate box office revenue. We want to help our team visually see what films were big winners. Let's create conditional formatting for the cells in the box office revenue column and color code the values. Here you're going to see some additional options, and here we can actually set different rules for conditional formatting. Over here, select color scale. The default here is going to be to color the highest value white and the lowest value a dark shade of green, but we can change the scale to any colors we like. We're not going to specify the minimum value or the max value. We just want to analyze all the values in our column here. And we'll hit done. In this video, you'll learn more about how to highlight key data points in your spreadsheet. First, let's cover how to freeze or unfreeze rows and columns. To help us better view and navigate this document, we can choose to freeze important rows and columns so they remain visible as you scroll around the data set. So set your cursor where you want to put your freeze. Let's freeze the header titles, so let's do this row. Open View, select Freeze, and then we'll choose our row. Let's do a column too. It could make it easier for people to navigate data associated with movie titles if we make this column frozen. That way, this column will always be in view, no matter how far to the right they're looking, so you can always see what movie the data is referring to. Okay, now you know how to freeze and unfreeze rows and columns. Moving on. Let's showcase how to hide or show rows and columns. So why would you want to do that? Well, it might not be essential for you to show all your data all the time. You might be working with a huge data set. So Sheets gives us the option to hide data in our spreadsheets. For example, let's say we didn't need all this information about the cast. Choose the column you want to hide. Right-click the column selection to show us our options, and we're going to select Hide Columns. We can do the same thing with rows. Right-click on the row to show us our choices and select Hide Row. We'll find this visual indicator here that a row has been hidden. It's easy to expand this data and show it again. Just click right here. Next up, let's go over how to resize rows and columns. The data you put in each cell might come in different sizes or lengths, and sometimes it's nice to format things to reflect that. Often, this trick can help make your spreadsheet look more organized. We can quickly resize a row by simply double-clicking on the row we want to resize. So this will automatically expand the row so the content fits perfectly nice. We can use the same technique with columns. Just double-click on the column that you want to resize, and this will automatically adapt the width so all content shows. Easy. You can manually adjust the width of a row or column as well. Right-click on a row to see the options. We'll select Resize Column or Resize Row. Here, we can either choose to fit to data, or we can manually set a pixel count. That's it for resizing. Now let's talk about how to group rows and columns. Sometimes we want to collapse different areas so the spreadsheet is easier to navigate. For example, let's select the directors columns. So right-click to open our options, select Group Columns Together. This will create a gap in the grid to notify a group column has been created. Using this visual indicator, you can choose to expand and show the content again if you want. Let's use colors and borders to style things. Making borders around certain cells and even changing its colors do the trick really well. We can customize this spreadsheet with all sorts of different fill colors and text colors. Open Borders, choose which type of border you want to apply. Customize the border color and border style. Let's border one of our tables. Okay, what's the banding feature and how can we use it to group data? When I'm working with large data sets, alternating the colors sometimes help me view certain sections of it more easily. Another term for banding would be to alternate column or row colors. So let's show this one off. Select the first cell on this row and this column. Let's open Format and select alternating colors. Now we can see different color options and customization options. That's nice. You can choose from the default styles. Let's pick a color. There we go. Hit done. Okay. All right. In this video, you learned how to freeze and unfreeze columns and rows, how to hide and show columns and rows, how to resize columns and rows, split text to columns, use colors and borders for styling, and how to group data using the banding feature. Nice work. In the next video, we'll cover how to enter objects in your spreadsheet. All right, let's add images to your spreadsheet. You can put images directly inside of cells, so as you filter and sort content, the images stay associated with it. Images can work great for things like inventory lists, CRM tracking, and keeping track of tasks or assignments. Let's select Insert and select Image. We have two options here. You can see Image in Cell or Image over Cell. So go ahead and locate and upload your visual. See, you have some different source options here. I'm going to use this image I have already saved on my computer, and I'll use it just to quickly show you how to do this. And then you can use your arrow keys to move the visual. So this time the image will be contained within the cell. If you resize the image, the cell will resize to fit the image. Open Insert, select Image, and insert that image in a cell. Or you can actually insert the image in the spreadsheet. Cool. You can add checkboxes to cells in a spreadsheet. I use checkboxes for so many things, like tracking a project, checking off my to-do list, or even with my packing list when I'm traveling. It's a really powerful way to represent the status of a row. All right, let's do this. Select the cells or columns you want to have checkboxes in, open Insert, click Checkbox, and we're gonna center align this checkbox. And to remove a checkbox, simply clear the cell. There we go. Hyperlinks. There are two ways of including hyperlinks to your sheet. You can type the link manually, or you can copy and paste your link into a cell. So let's manually type in a link into this row. Okay, now let's copy and paste a link into a cell. And those are the two different ways. Pretty simple. There we go. We can also hyperlink data or text in a cell. I like to use this feature a lot. All right, select the item you want to hyperlink, click up here, and there you just add your link and hit apply. Next up, test. All right, so that wraps up Module 3. So we just reviewed how to format your spreadsheet so that it tells a story. And now it's test time. Time to practice what you've learned in this module to make an attractive sheet for our producer. She wants to know the movie director that made the highest grossing film for the least amount of money. The studio wants someone at the helm who can stay under budget and on time. Let's make a clean sheet that communicates exactly who you'd recommend for the job. Follow these 4 steps. First, you'll need to duplicate the movie data sheet. Second, you'll hide all the columns except the ones that report the movie title, year, director, budget, and box office. Third, you'll sort the budget column in ascending order. Once you've determined who directed the least expensive film but yielded the highest profit at the box office, let's give your boss a little something extra. For step 4, you'll make your sheet tell a story. So highlight the budget column in a different color from the rest of the sheet. Then format the winning director's name in bold. To help your producer even more, add an image of the director in a new cell at the end of the row. That's it. After you complete your mission, you can check your spreadsheet with the answer key in the resources. Good luck. Hi everyone, and here we go. Module 4. You're almost there. You're doing great. So far, we've talked spreadsheet design and basic analysis. You've learned how to sort your data and group it. Well, sheets can do way more than that. When I really want to identify data trends or use my data to help me make decisions, I often use Sheets' advanced capabilities to make charts, line graphs, and pivot tables. You can even access and analyze billions of rows of data directly within Sheets, helping you easily draw insights from big data. In this module, you'll learn how to supercharge your data set too. So let's take a deep dive into our movie stats. All right, so let's talk about how to reference data from different sheets. Import range allows you to import a range of cells from a specified spreadsheet. We can use import range to bring in entire sheets or just a range of cells. You can access and analyze thousands and thousands of rows of data directly within Sheets, helping you easily draw insights from big data. So let's do that. Let's use import range to bring in a range of cells from another spreadsheet. We need to paste in the URL of the spreadsheet you want to pull data from. First, enter equal import range, then add the URL to the formula string and put quotes around it. Then we need to specify which tab and range of data we want to pull from. That import function will find that spreadsheet and import that data. Let's dig into how to analyze your data with pivot tables. If you need ideas about how to aggregate or organize your data, a pivot table is one of the best ways to get started. In Sheets, the pivot table feature can suggest ways to present ranges of data in relation to each other. Pivot tables also help you visualize your numbers in interesting ways, so you can deliver impressive reports. Now, I'm going to show you how to make a table that will depict the highest grossing movies by genre. Then, we're going to add some bells and whistles. First, to find the pivot table function, click on Data and select Pivot Table. There we go. Now we need to select a range of data we want to access. Then we can indicate where we want this pivot table to appear in our spreadsheet. So the pivot table editor will open here, giving us some more options for our pivot table. This editor allows you to drag and drop different fields to view aggregate statistics. Let's add genres to the rows. There we go. Let's drag in our movie titles to the values. Our pivot table will guess what data we want to result. As always, you can also customize this on your own. So if you want to drill down into each cell and see the corresponding values that are aggregated here in this pivot table, you can double click on a cell. There we go. Neat, huh? Next up, I'll show you how to name ranges of your data to access segments of it quickly. Sometimes when you have a big chunks of data, you might need to break it up a bit. If you're a director, for example, you may want to break a column of movie names into two parts, maybe A through M and N through Z. Naming your ranges helps you do this. All right, so you can name subsections of your data and make those names principles in formulas. Okay, open data and select named range. And we can rename the data range. Cool. Okay, this part I'm particularly excited about. I recently found out about the macros feature in Sheets, and now I'm going to teach you how to create macros that can automate tasks in your sheet. Macros are an incredible time saver, particularly when you need to automate repetitive work. Let's say we had imported a larger spreadsheet with many sheets in it, each of which had a similar data structure. So rather than having to go through and format each sheet in the same way, you can actually record those formatting actions once with a macro and then play that back on different sheets within your spreadsheet. This not only saves you time, it also prevents manual errors you might have made in replicating that process on different sheets. So you can find macros under Tools. I really wanted to highlight this one for you folks. So back in Module 3, when we styled our sheet, I recorded a macro so that now I have a cool example to show you. So watch this. There we go. Very cool. So we just recorded the styling and it basically plays it back for us and saves us a ton of time. How cool is that? You record your own macros and save and name them so they're easy to apply later. Have fun with macros. So now let's optimize your spreadsheet with add-ons. Maybe you're a marketing professional who wants to know what people are saying about your client's product or service on Twitter. Staying on our movie theme, after a film is released, you'd probably want to pay attention to its reception. So gathering data on this can help you aggregate public feedback and spot trends, which can lead to more informed decisions in the future. Google Sheets has some really great add-on features that let you import data from social media platforms and much more. These third-party tools put your spreadsheet on turbo to provide even deeper insights. Let's check it out. So select Get Add-ons up here. There we go. And you'll see this brings us to the G Suite Marketplace. And here you'll find a bunch of tools that third parties have created to supercharge Sheets. You can find out more about any of these by clicking on the featured image. You're able to use them once they've been installed, and they'll appear in your add-on menu across all of your sheets. All right, in the next video, we'll cover how to tell a story with your data. All right, so you want to call out a data trend in a specific area of your spreadsheet? The sparkline function allows you to create a mini bar chart or a line graph right within a cell. Let's say we want to make a bar chart showing off the relative revenue of movies in our sheet. We want the biggest bar to be the movie that made the most money. Let's check it out. So here you're going to enter equals sparkline, enter the data you want to select, comma, curly bracket, enter chart type, comma, bar, semicolon, max, comma, max again, and parentheses, then select the box office revenue column and close parentheses. Go ahead and double click the bottom corner of the cell. Let's start generating reports. Sheets provide some really robust tools to help you create reports. There's an infinite number of ways to tell stories with your data. Some of my favorite reports include themes, guides, slicers, and enhanced pivot tables. I'm getting ahead of myself though. Let's start with perhaps the simplest kind of report, charts. We're going to create a new sheet within our spreadsheet to build out our data report. Here we'll be adding our charts and new pivot tables. Okay, so select the range of data you want. I'm going to grab this and open the insert menu and select charts. Sheets will automatically guess the best chart format, but in the chart editor menu, various different charts are available. There are different types of charts and graphs and sheets. We can use a line chart to look at trends or data over a time period. We can use a column chart to show one or more categories or groups of data. Or we can explore the bar chart to show the difference between data points of one or more categories. We can visualize our data however we'd like. There are other chart options like pie, histogram, scatter, and more. You also have a ton of customizable options to personalize your chart style. We can change the border, we can change the series colors, add data labels, and a lot more. All right, let's talk about using slicers to filter the data you view. Slicers are remote controls that run on top of your spreadsheet. A good way to think about it is seeing slicers as another way to filter content. Now, these aren't like the filter views we already made in the previous module. Slicers are like buttons you can add to pivot tables to control what data makes it into the table. So let's talk about how to make one. I'll show you. So click on Data and select Slicers. Next, we need to select our range of data. So let's reuse our chart data. Hit OK. And just a note here, you can actually reposition the slicer. Let's put this under our chart. We can modify what appears in our chart by changing items in the slicer we just created. Slicers make our report incredibly interactive since anyone viewing it can now select one to view the data many different ways. Let's dive into the Explore tool. Another one of my favorite features in Sheets is Explore. You can ask questions about the data in your spreadsheet or just explore what's possible. Based on where you are and what data you've selected, you'll get different summaries and chart suggestions. This tool is a great way to discover all of the different features available in your spreadsheet. Let's check it out. So first, select any column or rows in your spreadsheet. Then click down here. Explore will automatically generate suggestions for you, like new possible features or summaries. Let's browse around some more and look at different examples. You can use this editor tool across any docs or slides in your drive. Cool, huh? Okay, let's learn how to use the Google Translate function to interpret data in a cell. I often communicate with team members in other countries across many different languages. I love the Google Translate function since it allows me to make sure that nothing gets lost in translation. The Google Translate function translates text from one language into another. Here's how the function breaks down. We enter right here. The value for the text must be surrounded by quotation marks or be a reference to a cell containing the appropriate text. Google Translate uses two-letter language code of the source language, such as EN for English or KO for Korean or auto to auto-detect the language. If you want to learn more information on that, check out the full list of language codes. We left a link for you in the resources section. Okay, let's showcase Google Finance real quick. This is a neat feature. This is another function that's unique to Sheets, which fetches current or historical securities information from Google Finance. Basically, you can retrieve current or historical stock market data. When you use the Google Finance feature, it retrieves the market trends on a daily or weekly basis. So let's follow the ticker symbol for Google. We're going to tell Sheets when to start and stop pulling data for Google. Maybe you'll use that one day. Cool, huh? Now, let's analyze your trends alongside big data patterns. Okay, array formulas. An array is a range of cells. If you want to group the values of your cells together in a particular order, you can use arrays in your spreadsheet. Let's build a new array and reposition columns. Let's say we wanted to organize the release date column first, then the movie title column second, and lastly, the box office revenue column. Now these three columns are repositioned and rearranged in our sheet. Let's go further. Here's another example. Let's say you need to figure the profit of each of these movies. You can have the array formula calculate the difference between the box office revenue column and the budget column to determine the profit. This saves a lot of time because you can streamline calculations for a big range of data instead of having to do calculations in individual cells. All right, now let's talk about a super exciting feature in Google Sheets, BigQuery. With BigQuery, Sheets has the ability to support data sets that include billions of rows. Yes, I said billions of rows. So Sheets can connect to large data sets like BigQuery. BigQuery is a cloud-based data warehouse from Google that houses massive data sets. Keep in mind that only premium enterprise users who pay for G Suite will be able to access these features, but I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what it can do. So we're going to be quickly exploring a data set of New York City taxi cab data. It has 112 million rows of data. Let's imagine that you still have your movie producer hat on. You're making that romantic comedy. For the final scene of the movie, the director wants the main character to stop the love interest from getting into a cab that's headed for the airport. For this big finale, the director wants you to look up the most popular pickup locations for New York City cabs. This is the spot where your crew will literally stop traffic for the two actors who will engage in a final embrace amid honking horns. So let's find the most common place that New Yorkers get picked up by taxis. First, let's connect our spreadsheet to BigQuery. Here we can see some sample public data sets, and we could experiment with any of these examples, but for our purposes, we're going to analyze this data about yellow taxis in New York City. Once you've connected to a table in BigQuery, you'll see many of the same features you can use on native Sheets data: functions, charts, pivot tables. Again, I want to highlight that the connection between Sheets and BigQuery allows you to find trends among millions of data points. It's pretty powerful. Okay, let's do an analysis by creating a chart. So to do that, let's click on the chart icon and we'll insert to a new sheet. On the left, we see a placeholder here for our chart, and on the right, we have our chart editor there. In this example, we want to find out the most common pickup location in New York City. Remember, this is where our two actors will share their final embrace. We're going to create a bar chart from this column. Based on our bar chart, we can then see here the most popular place to get picked up by a taxi in New York City. Okay, now let's try doing an analysis using the pivot table. Let's find out the most common time of day for pickups. This will help our director determine whether to shoot a sunny morning or a rainy night for dramatic effect. Okay, so let's select pivot table. Select rows, click on values, and select apply to run. There we go. Everything you've seen so far has shown how to do analysis on data in BigQuery. So when you're creating a chart, table, or function, you're analyzing data that lives in BigQuery. However, if you want to import data from BigQuery into your spreadsheet, you can do that using extract. So let's do that now. Click on extract up here and we'll open up a new sheet. In our extract editor over here, we can choose which data or columns we want to extract. Here, we're going to choose the pickup date time, the drop-off date time, the total amount, the pickup location ID, and the drop-off location ID. We can also customize the data we want to extract with filters and conditions, and specify how much data we want to import from BigQuery. As our row limit, let's extract 10,000 data points. So let's say we've selected the location where our actors will share their last embrace of the film, but a month before we shoot on location, we want to make sure that the site is still the most popular, or if there's somewhere else that's better. In that case, we can import new data into our existing cells. Now that we've entered the data, it's now editable. Okay, cool. Next up, test time. last video, you just saw me make a super impressive pivot table that conveyed the most popular pickup spots in New York City for taxi cab drivers. All of this will help our movie producer and director film a realistic ending to our romantic comedy. Let's test your knowledge now. Your producer wants to know the average amount of tip a taxi driver earns. She's brainstorming an alternate ending in which the lead character gives an over-the-top tip to the taxi cab driver so that they can follow another cab. That other cab is carrying the main character's true love to the airport and possibly out of New York forever. So create a pivot table that shows the average tip. Then help your producer make a list of 3 more patterns that emerge from your pivot table. Here's some advice. You may want to start with the Explore feature to get some ideas. Remember, the answer key is in the resources, but no peeking. Good luck. Welcome back, and congratulations for making it to the last module of our Google Sheets course. This is my favorite module because it's all about collaboration. Sheets opens up whole new ways of collaborating. I use Google Sheets to work with my team in real time, and it works across multiple devices. So I use it no matter if I'm at my desk or on the go and on my mobile device. When working on so many spreadsheets with lots of team members, it's awesome to be able to keep track of living documents. Version control isn't an issue anymore because Google Sheets saves everything for me, and it's easy to see when and how spreadsheets have been updated and by whom. So let's start diving into the details on sharing. In this module, you'll learn how to share your spreadsheets, customize different sharing features, and review your spreadsheet's activity dashboard. The activity dashboard provides powerful details on the collaborative history of your document. You can see who's commented last, who's recommending changes, who has questions, and more. Finally, you'll also learn how to make comments and suggestions on sheets with your team. Are you ready to finish strong? Of course you are. Let's do this. All right, let's go over how to invite your teammates to edit, comment, or view your spreadsheet. One of the most powerful things about Google Sheets is that we can collaborate in real time in the same document at the same time from a phone, tablet, or computer from anywhere in the world. You can share a spreadsheet or individual sheet with specific people and provide them with different editing permissions too. When you share a spreadsheet from Google Drive, you control whether people can edit, comment on, or only view the file. First, we're going to find the file we want to share. Then we'll add our film production teammates' names. We're going to share the spreadsheet with my teammate Mabel. So let's go over here, and on our spreadsheet we will select Share. And here you add people you want to share spreadsheets with. So we'll add Mabel's email here. Beside her name here, we can choose whether she can edit, can comment, or if she can only view the spreadsheet. So when we're done setting our sharing permissions, we also have the option to add a note to our teammates if we want. Let's give Mabel a little bit of context around this spreadsheet that's about to pop up in our inbox. All right, now hit send. Mabel just got an email with my note introducing this spreadsheet to her. Now that we've shared our spreadsheet with a team member, let's learn how to create a shareable link to our spreadsheet. You can send other people a link to your file so that anyone on the internet with the link can use it. When you share a link to a file, you can specify their level of access to your spreadsheet. This is a nice feature to use. Open Share. And let's choose from these link sharing options. These are good options here. We can make it public on the web. We can make it so anyone with a link can view only, comment, or edit. We can make our spreadsheet only accessible to our team and teammates with the same email domain. And we can also limit the access to only specific people and enter their email addresses. Okay, let's go over how to maintain control of your data. With Google Sheets, you can manage permissions for your document. You can set expiration dates for those permissions, and you can even disable options to download, copy, or print for specific collaborators. Let me show you a few ways to manage and maintain oversight of your data. You can also change the ownership of a spreadsheet. Maybe we worked on this spreadsheet, but Mabel is actually going to be the one to eventually present this. So we can actually transfer ownership when we're done preparing it on Mabel's behalf. So let's open Share. We'll go to Advanced. And then here you would find the person you want to transfer ownership to. And in our case, we want to share this with Mabel. So click here and select is owner. So now Mabel is the owner of this spreadsheet. Now that we've shared our spreadsheet with the team, let's learn how to review our sharing settings. So in our spreadsheet, let's go ahead and select Share. And we can access different sharing document links here, and we can also see who has access to the spreadsheet and if they can edit, can comment, or can just view. Here, you can also see that we have the option to set an expiration to access the spreadsheet. You can make whatever changes you'd like, just confirm your edits and save changes. Since we started research in preparation of the film we're making, our crew's grown a bit. We've enlisted the help of a couple of coordinators to sift through the data, and now some more of the producers want to take a look at things as well. So now, since more people are working on the spreadsheet and viewing it, we want to be able to see who chimed in and when. So let's check it out. Here, this is where we can review access permissions for everyone who you have shared the spreadsheet with. Sheets allows us to view the history of collaborators. It's nice to be able to have visibility into who is using a spreadsheet and when, regardless of what you're working on. Now, let's go over how to lock data ranges and sheets. You can protect your spreadsheet from being changed by others, but keep in mind they'll still be able to do things like print, copy, paste, import, export, and screenshot a protected spreadsheet. But if I'd like to share this spreadsheet with a collaborator, but don't want them to be able to edit values, we can lock data ranges and sheets appropriately. All right, go to Data, click on Protected Sheets and Ranges here. We'll click Add a Sheet or Range. To enter the range you're protecting, click here and highlight the range in the spreadsheet. Let's say we don't want our team to modify the budget or box office revenue data because that's going to change all of our tables and data summaries. Click Set Permissions. Here, choose how you want to limit editing. This one's useful. We can show a warning when anyone makes an edit on our sheet. Select Show a Warning when editing this range. This one doesn't block people from editing, but they'll see a message pop up asking them to confirm if they really want to make an edit. We can also choose to protect an entire sheet in our spreadsheet if we wanted to. Let's lock down our movie data sheet. All right, open Data. Again, go to Protected Sheets and Ranges, and now we choose a sheet to protect. If you want a set of cells to be unprotected in a sheet, check the box next to Accept Certain Cells. Hit Set Permissions. So in this example, we don't want anyone being able to modify our report sheet. We'll choose the second option, Restrict who can edit this range. And here we have a few different options. If you use Google Sheets for work or school, only people in your email domain can edit the range or sheet. And here on Custom, only the people you choose can edit the range or sheet. So for our example, we want to limit this to only we can modify these settings. So that's how to restrict people from editing or entering data in general. So now let's cover how you can restrict people from entering invalid data. Data validation can be used to stop collaborators from inserting anything other than the data you want within specific ranges. We have various options here. We can set text only, dates, set a specific range, and more. Let's go back to our Have You Seen This column. Now we want to add a new data point. We want to know when the movie was seen. let's use the data validation to collect this new data point. We also want to restrict people from entering invalid data, so we only want to see date inputs. Let's create a new column and rename it to "When have you seen it?" Highlight the range you want to restrict. So let's just do the entire columns range. Go to Data, select Data Validation. Now here in Criteria, we specify what type of content we want inputted. We only want dates. Then we need to select what happens if invalid data is inputted. Here we can choose if Sheets shows our collaborators a warning message or simply rejects anything that's invalid to our request, like if a teammate accidentally enters currency instead of a date. If you select Reject Input, your collaborator will see a pop-up window with an error message after they submit the invalid data. We can also include Show Validation Help Text, so your teammate receives a helpful message so they know how to fix the error. Now let's cover function error messages. If you make different errors, Sheets will tell you where you went wrong. There are a few common error messages you'll probably get at some point. Let's go over some of these so you can troubleshoot quickly. One is a formula parse error message. This means we didn't type in a formula correctly. So to correct this error message, we'll need to check our formulas and make sure we use the correct ones. The NA error message. This error signifies that a value is not available. This occurs when we're using a lookup formula, like VLOOKUP, and the search term isn't found. So the search term is just not in our data set. Value error message. This error occurs when your formula is expecting a certain data type as an input, but receives the wrong type. An example of an incorrect entry that would trigger this error message is something like trying to do math operations on a text value instead of a numerical value. So on the name error message, this formula error signifies that there's a problem somewhere with our formula syntax. So for example, if we were to misspell the sum function, we would get a name error. To correct this, go back and check your formula syntax. There are a few other alerts you'll commonly see too. Check out the Google Sheets function list and use this to better understand any error messages so you can troubleshoot if you ever get stuck. You'll find a link to that function list in the resources section. Did you know you can chat with your team within Google Sheets? This is one of my favorite features. I can talk to my team in real time about the data in my spreadsheets. For example, if I have a question about something, I can come up here at the top right, select Chat. Keep in mind that this feature won't be available if you're the only one in the spreadsheet. Enter your message in the chat box. Once I'm in the chat box, the user I'm addressing will receive an email notification that I'm addressing them. If they're not in the sheet already, they can reply via email, or the alert will prompt them to head back into the sheet to answer my question. When you're finished, at the top right of the chat window, select Close. Cool, so just got some questions answered, and that is how you chat with a teammate. On the theme of making your spreadsheet social, let's talk about how to add notes. You can add a note or annotation to explain trends in the data or to give your team additional information or details about your data or charts. All right, choose which cell you want to tie your note to. Now let's go up here to Insert. Select Note, and now we can write a note here. And there we go. We've shown you notes. Now let's go over how to mention someone in a sheet with comments and action items. Adding comments in Google Sheets is a really useful way to add information, suggestions, or questions for other collaborators to read in the spreadsheet. Sometimes you have questions about a data point or trend. The best way to get immediate feedback from a teammate is to tag them in the spreadsheet. To make sure someone sees a comment, you can add them to it. They will receive an email notification with your comment. Let's go ahead and mention Mabel in a comment on our spreadsheet. So let's select the location or the cell that you want to comment on. And then click up here, insert, and somewhere in your comment, add the name of the person that you want to tag. When the correct person is suggested, click their name. You can also add the email address of the person you want to tag. Click comment to share. Depending on your personal settings, you'll get a notification message when someone tags you in a comment. You can manage your comment notifications up in comments and set to only alert all comments, only yours, or none. If you have permission to edit or comment on a spreadsheet, you can reply to comments. When a discussion is finished, you can resolve a comment to close it. To reply back to a comment, you just need to click on the comment itself and go ahead and type in your reply. Another thing we can do here in comment is review history. And here we see Mabel's comment again. We'll actually see all past comments made on this spreadsheet, the time and date of those comments. All right, time to cover how to create Google Forms. One of the best ways to collect data is by asking people. Google Form is a great tool that integrates directly with Google Sheets so that you're able to ask questions, get data in a structured format, and it immediately comes into a spreadsheet so you can start analyzing and understanding the data. We have a lot of information on cold, hard facts in our spreadsheet, like revenue and actors' names. We know how many movies were action movies or romances, but maybe we want to get insight into what genres people say they enjoy the most. So we measure sentiment, or how people feel about different movie genres. We can create a Google form that will collect data on people's favorite movie genres, and our company will distribute it via our social media channels to get a sense of what our community wants. Let's do it. Go to your Drive by typing drive.google.com in the URL. Select New, More, and then Google Form. First off, let's give our Google form a title. We'll call this Genre Sentiment Data. So these are optional, but we can add a description. For question 1, let's ask their email. For question 2, let's talk about genre sentiments. And you can keep adding questions here. Then you can check the responses section for a visual summary of our collected data. The last collaborative feature I want to show you is when you send a form, you can gather the responses inside the form or separately in Google Sheets. Open a form in Google Forms. At the top of the form, click Responses. And here, click Create Spreadsheet. This creates a spreadsheet for responses. Select Existing Spreadsheet. This lets you choose from your existing spreadsheets to store the responses to this Google form. So for this, we're going to save the Google form responses in our spreadsheet here. Click Select in this case. Cool. All right, so let's view the activity dashboard in Google Sheets. Maybe you want to see who peeked at your spreadsheet last. Maybe you're interested in seeing the most recent edits. The activity dashboard is the place to view the latest comment, sharing, and viewing activity for everyone who's assigned to your spreadsheet. Another way to view activity history would be via the activity dashboard above in the header. Here we can see the viewers, viewer trends, comment trends, sharing history, and privacy settings. We can see who we share the document with and all viewers. So let's go ahead and navigate through the activity dashboard and I'll show some things off for you. So select activity history up here. See, we can take a closer look at any of these. Viewers, comment trend, sharing history, privacy settings. You can see who shared on the sheet, and here is actually where you can see all the viewers on the sheet. So open all changes saved in Drive on the header and explore version history. You'll be able to see who's been editing the document as well as the time and date they access the sheet. So you can actually set notifications on your spreadsheet to find out when other people have changed your spreadsheets and to see what they've modified. This is a good way to keep track of things. You won't get notifications when you make changes on your own spreadsheet, but you'll get notifications when others make changes. Let me show you what that looks like. Here, we can customize how we want to send or view notifications from our spreadsheet. See, we can choose when and how often notifications are sent when someone makes a change or submits a form. You can also choose how frequently you want to receive notifications. You can have a daily digest email, or you can be emailed right away. Next up, the test. So you've made it to the end of the course. Congratulations. We have one more test left to make sure you're really ready to graduate into the world of Sheets. Let's see if you can make a Google form. Let's imagine that you've made it to the end of your major Hollywood production. You did all the research to set you up for success, and you got through production. Now, your producer wants to know how everyone would like their names to appear on screen when the credits roll. First, make a Google form that will capture everyone's first name, last name, and the role they played in the film. Next, convert your Google form into a spreadsheet. Lastly, you'll need to create 2 sharing permissions for your spreadsheet. One for a post-production colleague at the company, and another for the rest of the employees to enter all of their information. Before you go on and no doubt ace this last test, I hope you found this course useful. I've really enjoyed showing you some of my favorite features in Google Sheets. I hope you'll use it and use it often to organize information in your life, supercharge your spreadsheets, collaborate in real time with people no matter where they are in the world or what device they might be using, and make more informed decisions based on data. Goodbye and good luck.